We are different. Society should aspire to be more like us.
Be part of the first class. Get energized. Get outside.
Hold on, guys. It's gonna get bumpy.
And get moving. Experience the power of physical activity. Join the movement at ActionHeroAlliance.com.
Welcome to this edition of Lancaster Perspective. I'm Mike Miller. My special guest today, the director of the Lancaster Festival, Lou Ross. Welcome,
Hey, Mike.
Lou.
Good to be here.
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me on.
And I see you got the memo about red shirts. So
I did.
We're in good shape. It's as always, the festival is a busy time, and there's a lot of stuff going on. And this year you've got a couple big name acts coming back.
Oh, it's exciting. It's a 28th annual festival this year, and we couldn't be more happy about the way things are coming together for the summer. We're going to have great weather, tell you that now, a month out, that we're going to be just fine. And great, strong lineup again this year with free activities as well as the paid activities.
And it's actually starts on July 18th.
Yes.
At Faith Memorial Church.
Yes, we have opening night there. It's the 25th anniversary of our own Lancaster Festival Orchestra and Maestro Gary Sheldon. So we're having a big celebration at the church that night, the first kickoff day.
Wow, that's neat. That is 25 years.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. And you've been with the festival 9 years.
9 years now, which has gone by really fast. So I imagine it's a surprise to me to be here 9 years already. I imagine what people feel like with 25 years, 28 years of the festival.
Now, do you remember your first festival?
I do, yes. It was a 2003 festival. I was actually shadowing Eleanor Hood and Barbara Hunziker, those great volunteers that some of the great volunteers helped put this whole thing together and manage this thing for all those years. And it was a wonderful festival that summer. And we had Sheena Easton that year, and also the first Saturday night was a jazz act, Arturo Sandoval. And he was just incredible, unbelievable talent. He and his whole band were just amazing. I was really impressed with that night. And just to see the way the community rose up and supported this festival. I mean, I knew a little bit about it by reading up before it when I was applying for the job.
Right.
But I was already living here. You know, this is my wife's hometown.
Right. Yep.
And my wife's Kathy Kern and my daughter Kayla. And we actually came here to have our daughter and be in Lancaster. So I didn't expect to be back in the entertainment business because that's been my background, event planning and entertainment. And then this great festival was there looking for their first director, paid director, I guess I should say. And I was lucky enough to get the position.
Was it, when you first went out, what did you think, oh, boy, this is a lot to do?
Oh, of course, yes. And couldn't imagine taking the jobs of two women who'd done this for so long, two people on, just to myself. But, you know, the great thing is that Barbara and Eleanor are still helping out. We have all those volunteers for 28 years at a festival. Some of them have been helping all 28 years, and they really know what they're doing. So I'm just sort of guiding things in some respects, and they let me do some things myself. But it's just still the same network of people who have all been here and making this thing work. So it's challenging, but it's been fun.
I think one of the most, because we've talked many times about the challenges that you face, obviously getting the acts to come to Fairfield County, Lancaster, Ohio. We talked a little bit about it. And I know years ago, people would always say, why can't we get this group? Why can't we get that group? And there's a wide variety.
Yes.
But
well, I think the festival's a 10-day festival, this year 11 days, but we're really known by the two Saturday nights. So whenever you announce those two nights, people either like them or they don't like them, and they're like, why didn't you get the act that I like? You know, and I understand that, but you know, we're so much more than just those two nights.
Right.
But yet those are the nights we're made off of, basically. That's the ones that we make the money to pay for the entire festival with, and those are the ones that people look most forward to. So I understand it. But it's a challenge. We're limited by budget, certainly. We can't get the higher priced artists. We just can't afford them. We can't do that. But the acts that we bring in, even they are expensive enough. I mean, it's unbelievable sometimes what you have to pay for some of these artists. You just can't believe it. But we try to do a good mix. And I guess more recently, over the last 10 years, we've had a lot of country artists come to town. They seem to be the most available, honestly, and is affordable in a lot of respects. And they also draw well. But we don't head out at the beginning of the year looking for a country act. We send our search out wide, and we just try to contact all the agencies, see who's available. We're also limited by the fact that we just have 2 Saturday nights. So this year we were looking for July 21st and July 28th, and we get calls all the time from people saying, hey, can you pick up a tour date here in August, or can you do this in June or early July? And we can't.
Right.
So we're stuck, and then the agents have us over a barrel in some respects because they know we have to have the act on the 21st or the 28th. So we have to almost pay what they want because there's not a lot of room for negotiation when they sort of have you, when you say like, oh, we'll move on to somebody else. Well, maybe you can, but really the reality is you got to get something booked for those Saturdays and make it happen.
Now, and this year you have on the 21st is Big Bad Voodoo Daddy,
yes,
which is a swing band.
They're a swing band, and in the '90s, swing music came back, especially with young people, and they were great band names: the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, the Squirrel Nut Zippers, the Cherry Poppin' Daddies, and Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. And they stuck with it, and they started doing orchestra shows, and they've been on our radar for a while, but it hasn't felt like a good time to do them.
Right.
But their show is very high energy, very talented musicians. I mean, they're good, and they do the zoot suit look with the suits and the hats, and they have a lot of choreography on stage with their horns, and they're going to be great with our orchestra. Very, very good act. And again, people may not know them.
Right.
They have a good following, though. People who do know them are excited they're coming. But if you come out and see them and don't know them, you're really going to be pleased. It's going to be a great night.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, they're going to be good.
And then on the next Saturday is Leanne Rhymes.
Leanne Rhymes, yes. And, she is only 29 years old. She already has a 17-year career. So she started so young. And even before that, she was on the old Star Search with Ed McMahon. She sort of had her first break there. But she had early hits at 12 and 13 years of age. And she has a incredible voice, does a wide variety of music. She's known more as a country artist, although her pop sounds are strong. She has a new album in the works right now that's going to be more pop-oriented, so I'll be interested to see what she's going to do here. Although her orchestra show has been around probably for a while, so she'll probably do more of her hits, and a lot of that will be country. But she has a great voice and a nice band, and I think with our orchestra, she'll sound great. And we have the advantage, too, to having the great support of Ohio University Lancaster.
Right.
That site is just gorgeous, and I think sometimes we take it for granted. But when you're out there and you're, on a beautiful night, sort of, like I said, the weather's going to be great this year.
Sure, absolutely.
But on a beautiful night, on the grassy lawn, surrounded by the trees, and the moon and stars are out, it's one of the most picturesque sites anywhere for a concert. And the artists who come in here are always impressed. They're so amazed, first of all, by the talent in our orchestra. They come to Lancaster, Ohio, and they're like, that
was one of my questions. What are they? Where is Lancaster?
Well, they play the world, a lot of these people, and they play with many, many orchestras in many places. And they come here sometimes with an attitude, like, here I am in Lancaster, Ohio, it's another just, I'm getting paid, let me get out of here. But once they get here and they get on stage and rehearse with the orchestra, they see the gorgeous site. First of all, when they walk on the stage, you're like impressed. Whoa, look at this place. And then when they hear the music play, they're always like looking over their shoulders like, do you hear what's behind us? Do you hear the type of quality we have? And we get so many compliments from that, and people who want to come back because of that quality of what we offer here. And it's quality through our volunteers, the way we present ourselves, and also quality of the musicians and talent that Gary helps bring in and puts together. So we have a great festival here, and it's something we should all be very proud of.
Oh, absolutely. I think you told me that the Beach Boys were the biggest or the most sold the most tickets?
They were. We had a long-standing record from 1998 when Aretha Franklin was here, and I wasn't around then. You may have seen that show. And actually, some people say Aretha was one of the ones that never really took time to learn about Lancaster and enjoy us. She was getting a gig. She was playing for Longaberger Baskets either the night before or the night after. So the festival got a deal on her because we were actually able to route a date for the first time. Yeah. And so she was picking up a paycheck here. And they say that even when the crowd was clapping for her, she was already leaving the site in her limo. I don't know. But, she did her show. She's gone. But she was the biggest draw until last year with the Beach Boys. And they shattered her record, really. We had nearly 15,000 people come out there to see them. And it was amazing. Wow. And I knew they were going to do well. But the fact that they drew such a big crowd. And people were saying, well, you beat that this year. Well, Aretha Franklin's record stood for, 14 years or 13 years. I'm not expecting that we're going to beat the Beach Boys this year. And that may never be broken, And so I think Leanne will do great, but I don't think it's going to be Beach Boy-sized crowd.
Now, if people are interested in tickets, call, website, what should they do?
Either. The website's lancasterfestival.org. You can simply go there and check us out there. Give us a call at the office locally here at 653-8700 in Lancaster, or stop by and see us at 117 West Wheeling Street. We're just around the corner from Shaw's on Wheeling. Some people don't know we're in a new office. We've been there for over a year now. 117. We were at 127 West Wheeling. And when People's Bank moved to Main Street, we moved into their old space right there in Wheeling Street, and it's great because it's all on one level. It was greatly remodeled by the bank, so we have an advantage there on that, and it's a nice opportunity for the festival. It really gave us a great image, I think, to be when you walk through that door now, it looks a little different.
Now, I know from the start of the festival, way back when until today, volunteers are huge for putting this on.
It's amazing. And again, I've been here 9 years, but I'm still in awe of this community and its volunteers each and every year. I just can't believe what people give. We have so many people that take vacation from their jobs to work at the festival. And it's not a vacation working for the festival, it's hard work. And they do everything that's needed. And they continue to do it year after year after year. And it's what enables us to offer basically so many free activities. You know, we do about 70 events over the 10, 11 days of the festival, and almost all of them are free. We ticket about 15 of them, and the other ones are still free. And because of the volunteers, because of our donors, the corporate and individual donors who give us money, we're able to still offer all that free activities. And a lot of that's for families, for children to come out and learn and have fun. And we couldn't do that without the volunteers and the donors, that's for sure.
Now, if somebody wants to be a volunteer, they just call?
The same process, basically. The website has a volunteer link on it, and you can go there at lancasterfestival.org. Call us at 653-8700. Let us know. Stop by and see us. We're always looking for volunteers. You know, we do turn people over, and we all have new opportunities come available, and people need support and help. And in this day and age, people have less time to give. They're willing to give the time, but they can't give as much as they used to. And so now you need a lot more people to accomplish your task. So it does help to have volunteers.
And donors, you're always looking for donors.
Definitely always looking for donors.
And it's a great event. I mean,
it is.
And you talked about it's over 11 days.
Right.
It's not just those two events.
Yeah. And it's again, as I mentioned earlier, the community pride. The people who give to this festival give, first of all, they enjoy it, but secondly, they're proud of it, and they're proud to be part of it and help make it go, and we couldn't do it without them. And the thing about the donors is that we have a good track record. Our ticket sales pay for 50 to 55% of our needed revenues. It sounds low in some respects when you think about it, but in the arts world, really, that's a great figure. We do better than average in terms of our ticket sales being able to reflect back on what we need financially to make it work. But our donors and our grants make up the rest of that. So you're looking for another 40 to 45% of money that has to make the festival work and handle our expenses. And production costs, you probably know in everything you do, everything's going up. Everything's going up, milk, bread, everything's higher. Well, production is just through the roof. And the cost of artists, what we would have paid, 5 years ago even for a headliner artist, what we could afford, has doubled. And we're paying double what we were just 5 years ago. And even though we're getting, we have the Beach Boys and Kenny Rogers and Leanne Rimes, some good quality material. But 5 years ago they would have half their price. So it's expenses for them have gone up too.
Do you ever get together with other cities and talk about festivals and
always?
Gee, they do this and they do that?
That's a great advantage of being part of an organization like we have the Ohio Arts Presenters Network here, and I've been part of that for as long as I've been in Lancaster, and I've actually been able to serve on their board as well. And there's a conference each year that's held in this coming year. It's in Springfield. It's held in September or October, and you go there and you get to talk to the agents and talent that may be on sale. But the important thing I think is talking to my peers, other people out there doing the booking and experiencing the challenges. And because we're a summer festival, we have less ability to work together for booking. There's some though, and we try. But they're in the same situation where they're limited by dates and things like that. So it's challenging. But it's great to talk over situations and problem solving and different artists that you might have that they might have presented. Springfield just had Leanne Rimes, and they had a great experience with her. She was scheduled for a late spring date and had to cancel and redid it in May. They'd already sold out. It's in Clark State University is where it was. And she did great for them. They were really pleased with her crew and her attitude and her onstage demeanor, and they said the show was just top notch. So
that's neat.
It's nice to hear that.
Now, you have an arts background and a production background. Is this something you thought about, growing up? Gee, I want to run a festival, or I want to be involved in something like that?
Well, surprisingly, in a way, yes. I was raised by a family who liked the arts. My grandparents owned a record store in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, when vinyl was king. And growing up, we would work in the record store, be in the record store all day. My mother would take us down there.
I've never heard of vinyl.
Never heard of vinyl records. But we would spin the discs ourselves. We had a speaker in the street outside the store, and people would come out. And back then, in the '60s, soul was big, and so people would dance out in the street to Motown music. And I was spinning all the, what's new, Lou? I put the new songs on. So I was raised in that. My parents were into, my dad used to DJ dances. They went to theater a lot. They used to go to Warren, Ohio a lot for the Kenley Players and see some of the dinner theater type things there. So I had that background, and when I got involved in things in school, I became an active person, helping with tech, helping with production, helping book the things like in college, and I've been, luckily for me, it's been a love for me my entire life. I've been able to be in events and entertainment. I never really expected it to be. I wanted to be a teacher, which in that regard was sort of an entertainment in its own right.
Sure, yeah,
but
absolutely.
I've been able to stay in this field always. And when we moved to Lancaster, we came here before I had this position. My wife and I moved here to be closer to family. My mother's in Western Pennsylvania, and we wanted to be with Kathy's family here and have our first child, our daughter Kayla. We wanted to have her here and be near family. And I actually never thought I'd be back in the entertainment world again. I thought I'd be doing something else, and suddenly here was a festival job. So it was very fateful, and I've been pleased to be part of this all these years. And it's been, again, sort of prolonging the joy I've always had to be part of this. So
in the 9 years you've been with the festival, what's changed for you?
Well, boy, that's a good question. I think for me, trying to balance the growth of my daughter along with the challenge of
And how
doing
old is
the festival.
Kayla now?
She's 9.
Yeah.
Just finished 3rd grade at Sanderson Elementary. And, it's so much fun to watch her grow and develop. And but yet I'm busy sometimes and I'm away. And that's a challenging thing for me. So to keep that balance going on, I try as much as possible. And my wife's busy as well. She has her business, Kaleidoscope Entertainment. She's an event planner. That's how we met years ago, through the campus activities field, actually. And so she's busy running around doing events and things, and so it's challenging for all of us in that way. But it's a very positive change, I guess I'd say, to have that in my life.
Right.
But it's been different.
Well, the festival, there's so many activities going on, and there's all schedules and things like that. Is there ever a time when you think, boy, I'd really like to do this, but we just don't have the space, or we don't have the area to do it?
It happens all the time, and some of that's definitely based on venues. You can only do so many things outdoors, and indoors we're a little bit limited. Although the churches have been so cooperative with us and so helpful to every step of the way. This year, actually, we explored coming here to Fairfield Christian, and there's already some things booked here this summer that we couldn't get in to use the site, the facility. But they're great venues, and they're also wonderful worship places. So you have a challenge there to balance that. But Faith Memorial, First United Methodist, the St. Mary's, the Presbyterian Church, so many have been responsible for helping the festival go. But yet, the top seating where those venues I mentioned just now is 1,000 seats. So you're sort of limited by what you can present. Here would be a little bit larger, I think. But so you are challenged by that, and then, of course, financially, you always wish you could have a little more to spend. But you wonder how much you can afford to give away too for our free activities. So that sometimes you have something you really want to give away, but it's a little too expensive. But people wouldn't really want to come out and pay for that, so you sort of back down on it.
Have you ever had anything that somebody has suggested to you, and you say, I don't know, I don't think I want to do that?
Well, we get that, sure. But the funny thing, you mentioned suggestions, and people all the time might come up to me and say, you probably get tired of hearing this. But here's what I'd like to see at the festival. But the thing is, we don't get tired of that. I don't get tired of it. Because, again, this festival's the community.
Sure.
And if it's not bringing people you want to see, then you need to tell us who you want to see. And that's been very helpful. And you never know when something's going to come along. People come in all the time and say, I was vacationing and I saw this artist perform. Or, my friend has a friend whose brother-in-law is a pianist. How about listening to him? And we discover some great things that way, and things we don't know about. And luckily, I am connected a lot to the arts, as I mentioned, through OAPN. But yet you can't see and hear everything. You can't possibly. So we love suggestions. And sometimes you get suggested something you're thinking like, yeah, thank you, but no.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, if they like it, then maybe other people like it. So you don't just, cast aside. Sometimes financially cast aside, but other than that, we always look into it.
When you do the festival and you plan the festival, this is going to be done. It starts the 18th and will be done 11 days later. When do you start for next year? Well,
Gary already has a whole list of things in his mind that he wants to do in the future. But it does take us a couple months to wrap up the festival. Our fiscal year ends September 30th. So we use the month of August and September to wrap up bills, take care of any loose ends at the end of the festival. And really October is sort of our launching point toward next summer. And we are budget driven, so we can't
Right.
plan too far ahead because we have to see how you did this year. Where's our financial situation now before we move forward? And we put together a new budget, start our new round of donation solicitations, and try to get everything into place. So it's really pretty much August through July that we run the festival and then close it down.
Now, is
But,
there a board that oversees?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I report to a board of directors, volunteer board of directors. Again, community leaders have been helping make this thing work. And they actually do the majority of the fundraising, which is so helpful. They're a very active board, and they raise a lot of money for the festival. And they have a real caring, again, for this community and for the festival, too. They want to make sure it's prolonged. And one of the changes, I'll say, it's not necessarily a personal change for me, but we realize that a lot of our normal patrons are aging, as we all are. And we need to find a younger group of people, and we have younger people now on our board. We are doing some different things during the festival. I mentioned to you off air the Hayes Carl Amanda Shires concert on July 19th. Now, Hayes is an act out of Austin, Texas. He's sort of a country rocker. He's a great songwriter, has a lot of humor in his music, some statements and politically even he makes. But I'll tell you what, he's getting a real name for himself, and he tours nationally. He was just at the Nelsonville Music Festival in May. He'll be back with us in July. He's getting a good following. He did the Bonnaroo Festival. He's done the Austin City Limits Festival. So he's getting a name for himself. And we're having him here. And that's a response to the younger people who are saying to us, are there some up-and-coming acts you can book? Are there some people who do their own writing and their own music that we should be bringing in, separate from the classical end? And so we're doing that this year to try to reach out to them. And I always tell them, the festival's 28 years old. So you take 28 off of the age of me. I was your age type of thing. It was you guys who started this festival type of thing. And if you want it to be here in 28 years from now, you need to get involved and get invested in the festival and make it happen.
Right. Is it a tough balancing act to do that between the older generation, the younger generation, and then you've got a board, I'm sure, that, let's do this and let's do that, and what kind of music can you have?
It's definitely a balancing act, but again, it's cooperative. You just find, we're always looking for new ideas and new thoughts. We're trying to involve new people.
Right.
And music and talent somewhat transcends age. Like the Beach Boys, for example. That's an old-time act. That's the 60s.
Was that a hard sell? Was that a hard sell for them?
No.
I don't think so. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. And the reason why is because they transcend generations.
Right.
I mean, my daughter loves the Beach Boys. So you figure if you can satisfy an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, and you can satisfy a 7-year-old, no wonder we had the biggest crowd ever. And there's not a lot of acts like that, but you can find them out there. And the thing is talent in a lot of ways. And I always tell people, even if you don't like country music or if you don't like classical music, take a look at who's performing up there, the talent that we're presenting, and appreciate that. I know that I've never been the greatest opera fan, but yet you go to an opera and you see people around you who are actually moved to tears by the singing, the strength of the voice, the power that's out there, and you realize what's going on, even though you may not understand yourself totally. I know when slam dancing was big back in the 80s, I never understood people getting all bloodied up and beaten up. But they walk out of those rooms, and I worked at Tulane University back then, and they walk out of there, big smiles on their face. They had the greatest time. And you're thinking, how can you have a greatest time being bashed around like that? But yet it meant something to them, and so how can you take away from them? They liked that, they enjoyed it. So let them listen to it.
You've mentioned a lot of different festivals. Is there one that Lou Ross would like to go to someplace in the world? That, I'd like to.
This is an easy answer for me. Although there's probably many I haven't explored for sure. There's probably some I should mention I want to go to, but. My favorite thing is the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. I lived there for 6 years in New Orleans when I worked at Tulane. And I'll tell you what, for me, there's been nothing like that in my life. And I'll tell you, it's just a wonderful mesh of the culture of the city along with the national entertainment they bring in there. And you can never see a bad artist there. People you've never heard of, and then big stars. I mean, this year Springsteen was there, and Buffett, and all kind of big names. But yet they have people there like, people you would never, who is this? But you walk up and listen to it. Incredible talent lives in that city, in Louisiana, in that area. Plus, you could eat forever there. The food is just amazing. And you go to that festival and they feature all the local cuisine. And you might find one stand that might sell hot dogs and hamburgers and french fries, but the rest of it's, oysters and crawfish and roast pig and poor boys. And I mean, it's just... So I could eat and listen to my heart's content. Get me back to New Orleans. It's always the last weekend of April and the first weekend of May. And when I was at Tulane, that was perfect because the students went into finals and I went into Jazz Fest.
Wow, that's
That was
neat.
great.
That is really. Was there anybody music-wise that you followed when you were growing up? Was there somebody that, or a group, or
Tons. I mean, I was raised with that, so I just loved. I was a big soul fan.
Yeah.
I loved all the soul music, all the Motown stuff, all the Temps and the Four Tops and the Supremes, and then when I got more into rock, when the Beatles came out, I sort of liked them, but I was still too much of a soul man. But then when Joe Cocker started singing, and you had that
Right.
combination of the R&B
Yeah.
with the rock, and
Yeah.
I became a big fan, and it's just been everything. And I've been lucky enough to be exposed to so much and see more, and to be exposed. I've known classical music, but to be here the last 9 years, I've learned so much more, and to be exposed to the talent like you have with Gary Sheldon and with Steve Rosenberg that helped support
Right.
this. They're very incredible. I mean, they're so talented, and we're so lucky to have them here and be part of this. They bring the best, and they bring out the best in our musicians. So it's. I try to follow everything, and I love the New Orleans stuff, and I got to know the Neville Brothers and the Radiators and
Right.
Walter Wolfman Washington and old time piano players like James Booker and Toots Washington, and just I saw some great music down there.
That is neat.
Yeah.
That is really neat. We've just got a few minutes left talking with Lou Ross, the director of the Lancaster Festival. Future plans for the festival, growth-wise?
Well, again, hopefully skewing a little more younger in a lot of respects to try to draw more people in that age group, trying to find some new things to do, but also keeping the orchestra growing and strong, bringing in some guest artists and making it work. We've had a success with this tribute band night, and I never expected that. A few years ago, we did a Led Zeppelin tribute band called Zoso. That was such a success. We've been doing tribute bands every year. This year is a Rolling Stones group called Satisfaction, and I never expected to be doing tribute bands in each and every year. But there's a big draw, and we've been lucky enough to find very talented tribute bands as well. We try to get the best in that genre if we can, so that'll be fun. But there's no keeping our eyes open for up and coming talent. I mean, last year we had a young man who was a composer. His name was Kevin Putz, and Gary brought him in. We did 2 of his pieces at a Faith Memorial concert last year, Faith Memorial Church, and this year he won the Pulitzer Prize for music.
Wow.
So you're just like, you don't know who you're bringing in necessarily. Gary is very good at finding the talent. And then you see that recognition for somebody you just had here, and it's just like, whoa.
Right.
He won the Pulitzer Prize. And just like he was here last summer, he came in just to hear his works performed. And he had a great time, great visit with our orchestra, and loved the interpretations of his music. And here he is, winner of the prize. So.
Any plans to expand past 11 days?
Well, this year we went to 11 days to reach out to that opening night Wednesday. We're usually a 10-day festival.
Right.
I guess a few years back they were 12-day festival and they had to cut back. And finances will dictate that.
Sure.
When you add days, you add expense, and it's a challenge in that regard. But it's hard to do the days we do now. Honestly, we're taxing our volunteers, taxing our own selves. But it's a wonderful 10 or 11 days, I'll tell you. People come up to me during the festival and they say, "Boy, I bet you can't wait for this to be over." And I'm like, "Are you nuts?
Yeah.
I've been working my whole year for this to be here, and now the town's in town.
Right.
It's been work up to this point. Now it's fun. I get to see and hear and be, and just you don't want it to end. And so it's if it expand to 12 days, great. I'll enjoy it.
And we talked about volunteers again. Is there an age limit for volunteers? Do they have to be 16, 18?
Well, we tend to try to keep 16, but we have younger people come out and help, usually with their parents. They'll assist somebody doing something. But we have a stage crew that helps build our stages, put up the canopy for the OUL site, and we try to stick with 16 or older for that. And they work hard. And so we need new stage crew members too. So if anybody's out there in production and wants to come and help us, we'll take you on.
That's neat. Well, Lou, we appreciate you coming in. I know you have a hectic schedule, and the festival is just right around the corner. If Lou Ross could pick one act to come to the festival that Lou Ross wanted, who would it be?
Boy, that's such my mind's like zooming now. There's so many artists that I like. It would be so hard to do that.
If the board said, "Lou, you get to pick whatever
you want.
We'll pay whatever it is."
Okay. Well, one of the things that comes to mind really quickly is that because Eric Clapton now has Central Ohio roots. I'm a Clapton fan, but he's not necessarily my top of my. But I would love to be able to say that he could come down from Columbus and pick a few tunes with us. I always joke that if we could just find his mother-in-law and talk her into it, that she could just grab him and say, "Eric, go down to Lancaster and play a little bit with them." It'd be great. But he'd be a top notch. And I'm an old Genesis fan. So Peter Gabriel did an orchestra tour this past year. He had his own orchestra though. He called it the New Blood Orchestra. And I've already checked on pricing for him, but with the orchestra it was way too expensive for us. But I wonder if he would ever break away and play with our orchestra. I would enjoy that too. I grew up with Genesis, so I would like to see him.
two thoughts.
Yeah.
Lou, we appreciate you coming in again, spending time with us, and good luck with the festival. It's just a great opportunity for people to get around and socialize with each other and just help the community out. We do appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you for having me on, and we appreciate the support we get from folks like you here at the church and also on the air, and we get a lot of that, and that's makes it work.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Hope you've enjoyed this edition of Lancaster Perspective. I'm Mike Miller, and remember, until we meet again, let's make a difference.
There are so many fun things we all can do to be healthier, no matter who you are or where you are. So let's move.
Oh, here we go.
Let's stretch in the grass.
What a play!
Let's play tag.
Wow, unbelievable.
Let's jump up and down.
Oh, what a way to finish it.
And most of all, let's eat better so that we have the energy we need to play an hour a day, every day.
Everyone can play. Just go to letsmove.gov to learn more.